key matchups. In this game, we have MVL versus Wesley. So let's take it from the top. E4, E5. And as we've been seeing so many Berlins, a lot of players are going for the Italian game with Bishop C4, Bishop C5, the so-called Giuoco piano, which means slow game, D2, D3, castles, A4, and deep still in theory in this position.
Because he doesn't mind giving away material for dynamic play.
One difference between what Maurice was looking at and what you were looking at is that knight takes f3, you hadn't inserted that.
No, I had not.
So was there a reason why it was bad?
Well, probably I should have, because knight g5 turns out to be pretty good.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So that exchange actually would make it even less dangerous for white, but still very interesting indeed.
Well, let's go still around the horn. We have two more games to look at. Five-time world champion Vachier and Abby.
Okay, I'm going to say a MVL.
Okay, and Maurice, you got to get in on this one. Who's going to be the first to make a confession?
I think I heard in my ear the producer say MVL, so I would be cheating if that is the truth. But I'll go with MVL anyway, because he doesn't mind using the confessional. We've seen in the past. He's someone who's very quick to go in there and just say something.
And again, the players have just been playing actually at a rather slow pace.
That's right.
A main line of the Giuoco piano. We've seen these ideas of A4 in the past associated also with the move knight A3. The idea of knight A3 is to drop back with a knight, support D4, as well as to play knight E3. But knight D2 was the choice of MVL, and after this move, I thought on the webcam, and I love the webcams of the players too, by the way. I really feel like I'm looking right, standing as a kibitzer by the side of the table and looking at the player. And we did see Bishop.
Yeah, pretty good camera work, but still come to St. Louis because the computer will be done, still be there when you come home. Just come out here for a couple days.
And enjoy.
Because then you also get a good perspective of what it's like here and what the players experience. So then throughout the rest of the year, when you watch tournaments here, like the U.S. Championship or other events like the match series that we have, you can kind of really feel what it's like to be in the player's shoes. That's why.
Fantastic. Winning London Classic, winning the Sinquefield, doing well in the Blitz and Rapids events. He had, his margin was just huge. We were talking before.
So apparently we've come back to another game that is being played at the very moment because with quite a lot of subtleties actually, we came back to we transposed to the game between Karyakin and Svidler. So, I wasn't sure before if he could deviate, and that's why I took some time to be sure I would get to this position or another position I knew about. But right now, of course, I'm still in my preparation. I still know more or less what I should do in the next few moves, so we'll see how it goes, but so far I'm quite happy.
Well, I must say that for change, Tom, our producer, was right in his prediction that MVL was the first to confess. But I'm sorry, I missed a lot of the audio. What did he say, Jen?
He said he's pretty happy.
He's a happy
There's lots
camper.
of subtleties in this position, and obviously it's quite early on the game for
him to be so happy. Okay, so
it's quite early in the game for. It's quite a long time to just play 12 moves, don't you think?
Oh, without question, they played it very, very slowly, and I would have expected, well, in blitz chess at least, that this position would have occurred quite quickly. With the last move, D3, D4, we have our tension in the center, as finally White's taken a little step forward, and in the meanwhile, Black has gotten his knight to G6. What was MVL saying? There were subtleties in the position that appealed to him? Again, I missed it all.
Yeah, he was being pretty vague, but
okay.
that just they've
that
already
he was
had
happy.
Yeah, at the end he said that he was happy.
And
so.
Maurice, should he be happy, or I'm not.
Wesley decided he didn't want to see the move b5. He didn't want to play that way. And even in the line itself, so here he doesn't go for b5. He played bishop to d7. And after a5, allowing this, he played c6. It just moves, does seem weakening of the square on b6. He also, it's going to be very difficult for him to pull off the move d5 as well. So I think that Peter's path of b5 was probably more in the spirit of this kind of Ruy Lopez. But it looks like Wesley's just playing a position again there, and definitely in the Ruy Lopez, this bishop on d7, c6 combo, it doesn't look as great. That said, Spindler made the point. Maybe he should have been playing slower. then if Wesley loses this game, then Spindler will say, okay, fine, I did what I do in the Ruy Lopez. And you see him in this line. He's a specialist. This is what Peter Spindler is known for. So it may have been good for Wesley to copy this great Spanish theoretician.
And six-time Russian champion at that. But we have Grandmaster Christian Chirilla to give
developments in the games, including Maurice on MVL and so.
And by the way, just speaking about the program here with kids, it's just been marvelous to be a part of the effort to develop curriculum around making sure that the kids have just absolute quality material to work with. It's been a real pleasure working with the Scholastic team, as that's an effort you don't see when you're seeing us talk about these kinds of events and all the great players, but they are so arduous in working and dedicated in working for the betterment of chess and the young people here in St. Louis. It's really a thrill to be a part of this program. C6 and bishop d7, we said, created some weaknesses. And Maxime Vachier Lagrave said, wait a minute, I'm not going to give you any potential breaks. I'm just going to concretize the weaknesses on the board with knight c4, queen e7, and queen d6. Would love to see an endgame, and this pawn structure being compromised has got Wesley so a little hot under the collar right now. This is a trade he really doesn't like, and any activity he has will just simply go by the wayside. And this is a queen trade so desirable that the engines are suggesting the move queen to d8. That's as ugly as it comes. You're going to make a move like this one in this position, queen d8. That shows how bad a queen trade is in the position for black, as white's pieces. Look at this beautiful knight on c4. And again, as we mentioned, the weak squares, I just can't even imagine the move queen d8 appearing on the board. I'm going to bet it's not going to happen. Queen d8 in this position? No way. Doesn't matter that the engines call this move. Wesley so is not going to want to play this, but what else is he supposed to do? He's down on the clock in this position as well. And I also want to bring your attention to another game.
Right, and it feels like a very, very nice position for MVL. The pawn on b6 is kind of like sticking in your throat, so to speak. It's a really powerful pawn. He has the two bishops. The only thing that white doesn't have going for him at the moment is this knight on f3 would really like to be on a better square. Put the knight on the c5 square, and it's like it's golden. So white has in mind to reposition his knight, knight e1, knight d3, knight c5, and MVL definitely in the driver's seat as far as this game is going. But we have a special guest in our studio.
That's right. World champion Magnus Carlsen is with Maurice Ashley.
When Gary was playing. Because Gary returns to give a few little lessons. We'll see if he's able.
Well, here's a man who's going to be among the young elite who will get a chance to face.
Active pawn structure, but a better pawn structure. The pawns on b3 and c4 doing more to limit black's play. So we left it just here, right?
Yeah.
And this is where c5 was played, and then we got to this position.
So can you force me to make this trade and play knight b6, or can I just try to maintain the stasis a little bit?
I think I can. I think I'll be direct about it as well. I'll play rook a1, seeking to post my rook to a5 so that I can take this pawn on c5 and essentially force you to capture this pawn. So if you went like rook c6, I want to play rook here. And again, either you go one way or another, you can't just maintain the pawns on c5 and b6. I'm going to force the trade, and whether you take with the rook or... I think you're going to have to take with the rook, because frankly I think my knight on c5 is simply too strong. And I'll get a situation more or less like this, and this is what I was saying about my more active pawn structure. The pawns on b3 and c4 limiting the bishop, and I've got the two bishops. So essentially, white is really for choice. Can he win it? He's still got a lot of work ahead of him, but definitely Wesley on the back foot in this one. And then, as you were mentioning in the other game, it's interesting that the two games that Jennifer, Black is actually trying to avoid, trying to keep that tension on the b6 and c5 pawn. I'm just considering, I want to essay an exchange sacrifice. Rook a5, knight c6, rook takes c5, knight takes, knight takes. Now this knight looks so dominant here, attacking the pawn on b7 as well as the bishop on e6. And I thought, okay, this is just crushing for white, game over, until my spidey sense told me there was a move knight d8, and this may not be the winning technique that MVL had in mind. Is this exchange sacrifice, is that going to keep Wesley in the game, Maurice? Because it sure looked to me like, you know, Wesley was just going to be suffering, and he's come up with a very intriguing idea, this knight e7, rook a5, knight c6, rook takes c5. Would you make that exchange sacrifice yourself, Jennifer?
Well, in the line you just showed, it didn't look like it looked like that knight d8 was a good rejoinder.
But still, it's.
Does white have any other options? Well, are you saying that if we just retreat with the rook?
Yeah, well, no, I didn't want to retreat with rook because you don't stop here. I mean, it still goes on. Like there's a line, for example, where you could go bishop d3 and you want to go b4 and knight takes and c5. I mean, those are two really good bishops, and that pawn on b6 is really strong. Maurice, is that exchange sacrifice good for white?
Well, the engines are giving that it's actually better for black to get there. This position, the king f7 is the move played first. It's similar to what you wanted to do anyway, right here. Sorry, you made the exchange sack. King f7, not even accepting the exchange right away because the rook is actually trapped. But it doesn't change much after king e1. The engine finally says, okay, whatever, I'll take it, and still play the move knight d8. Evaluating that white's advantage is not serious. Sorry, white's compensation is not serious here. Not enough. A little bit of compensation, but not enough to prove anything. Although I have to say, it's not clear to me exactly how black untangles this mess. And when you can't untangle because of one color domination, this bishop being the key piece in the position, and sometimes the engines will evaluate this as okay for one side, but as the game continues on and on and on, they start going, wait a minute, we're not doing anything. We're not making any progress. Of course, this king can show up on c3 quite easily and play a move like b4. But the question will be, how does white make real improvement? Yes, you've tied black down a bit, but how do you make real improvement in this position? And black's king will come a little bit closer, at least, to this square in the game. Again, it's not very clear how either side does anything here, so hard to say. The engines don't think it's a special deal.
Time to go king d2, king c3. I understand we were going to take a commercial break.
We're going to take a quick break as we wait.
And we'll come right back.
For these final two games to conclude. The strongest tournament of the United States and one of the strongest tournaments in the world, the first classical event of the Grand Chess Tour. We are approaching the first time control of round one, and both of these games could go in a decisive direction after. But in particular, this game between Karyakin and Spidler, we've been mentioning Karyakin on top, but with 12 moves left to make, and queen still on the board, there's only a few minutes for each side.
Exactly. Both.
One game remaining then, just Vachier Lagrave versus Wesley So.
And when we left it, we thought that definitely Wesley on the back foot. in the game, thanks to White's 2 bishops. But how bad is it? Let's put it that way. We've just seen a number of rook checks actually by MVL, and Wesley's king has been chased back to d8. I was wondering, okay, let's have a look-see at something very concrete. Bishop takes d4, giving up one of my bishops to get my bishop, or should I go bishop f5? I'm having a little trouble here. I'm a little bit undecided. But I was going to go bishop e4, hoping that if you take this pawn on b6, I would get a 2-for-1 trade by taking on b7.
Knight c5 instead.
Well, I'm not. Knight c5, definitely a good move. Okay, let's take a look. Knight c5. Okay, so now you're cleverly defending the pawn on b7, as well as attacking my bishop. I want to play the move bishop e4 to d5, anticipating that if you capture my pawn, my king's going to come up to d3. Basically, you know, the Bobby Fischer ending, bishop versus knight, with rooks on the board. Very unpleasant still for Wesley. Beside the move bishop d4, is there another move that you might consider here? Again, keeping in mind knight b6 is on tap for
Bishop
black.
d1 also
Bishop
is
d1,
possible.
preserving the 2 bishops. Knight takes b6, and well,
Actually, I thought here I could play bishop d4 and go for rook e6, but actually that's just refuted by rook c6, it looks like.
right. I get to meet that exchange with rook c6. But we could do the same thing that we were doing a moment ago, Maurice, with bishop f3. Again, this king is coming up to d3 and d4.
You could play
Rook and
king,
bishop
then that means you could have played king d3 then,
Also-
immediately, instead
also-
of bishop f3.
all
Bishop
moves.
f3, rook c7, but
These are
king
very
d3
unpleasant.
could be very
and-
unpleasant.
Yeah, very unpleasant ending to defend, because White's got so many avenues of direct attack. Bishop
And my
f3,
king
rook e6.
It's just coming into the game so quickly. That's the other huge
Joyful,
issue.
isn't
I
it?
mean, just- I
Joyful.
can even play like king c3 in the original position, and
From the
oh,
start.
I can't, because I guess you can take on c2 and then take on b6. I'm just dying to figure out a way to keep my dark squared bishop, because I feel like that's going to be even more dominant. You know?
Greedy, greedy, aren't we?
one of the strengths of having a bishop is that you can more easily trade for a knight than the knight can trade for you, because you
Precisely.
can trade from a distance more often than the knight could trade from up close. You can trade from both up close and a distance, while the knight can only trade from up close. So this is an advantage, and you have to be ready to give away the so-called advantage of the 2 bishops in order to get a bigger advantage of some kind.
Exactly, exactly. The advantage of the bishops are that they do have more opportunity to trade themselves for the knight than the other way around. And in this particular position, again, it's just like the knight is actually in the worst possible location on b6 at the moment. King takes d4, bishop f3. You're regretting that the knight is sitting on the b6 square. There's going to need some fancy footwork by Wesley So to save this position. He's definitely in trouble in this game.
That's right. And if we go back to the original position, this is the. It looks like they should have just made time control actually. But
So rook e1 check was king d8
King
was
D8
move
and now-
40, the time control.
And you were looking at bishop d4 and bishop e4, right?
Yeah, bishop d4, bishop e4, bishop d1.
Yeah, and we can also play bishop e4 right away, and then yeah, that looks really good too.
There's ideas also of bishop d4 and rook e6, bishop d4 and bishop f5.
You're having trouble finding a bad idea yet.
Yeah, exactly, because they're all very promising. But we have a very special guest in our studio, a 6-time
Russian
champion
champion.
from Russia, who has returned to St. Louis. He was here last year. We have Peter Svidler.
The 2 bishops. So the move bishop e4 was played, so immediately.
So not bishop d1, not bishop d4, but bishop e4 right away.
So the idea being that after knight b3, king c3, the greedy attempt to play to hold on to that pawn with knight a5 and also get out of the attack on the knight. I think bishop. What's the move here? Bishop f5 looks good.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just threatening the very blunt rook d1, and you can't
Right.
move your king.
Exactly. Well, I think that even the very blunt rook d1 is also very attractive as well, because you're threatening ideas like rook takes d7 check and bishop f5 and skewering the rook. So knight on a5 may end up being offsides. But it was strange. I actually like that b3 pawn. I'm not a big fan of giving away the pawns. I like that move bishop d1 that others had mentioned. But exactly here, do we have the move?
Just king, bishop b4, knight takes b3, king
has
c3.
been played.
King c3, knight a5 hasn't been played yet, though.
Oh, a knight a5.
But
well, I don't see there's really an alternative to knight a5.
So yeah, after knight a5, between.
What about, this is a big moment, knight d4.
Knight
d4 is a move that I think Wesley walked into this line thinking he could play. Knight d4 is a contentious move that you have to look at. And bishop takes d4 doesn't do anything. Throws away the advantage, in fact. And neither does bishop b7. But the Indians are coming up with this super duper fine bishop h2. And suddenly the rook on c8 is a goner. The rook has nowhere to run to. And you can't do anything about this capture on b7. Knight takes b6 is simply bishop takes b7. Gives to me the exchange. And that's going to be that. Yeah. A really amazing sequence there. And I think that's what he overlooked in this position.
He wanted to play knight d4.
Yes, I think. Of course, we're just guessing. But he's pausing now, and I think it's dawned on him that after this, in this position, bishop h2 is going to be brutal, and there's nothing else to do but drop your knight back to the a5 square, because bishop h2 is so strong. And in the line with knight a5, bishop f5, he's dropping material there too, because the d7 knight is gone. You can't protect it with anything, because rook d1 is coming and there's no way to protect it. I think you can grovel maybe with knight c6 and knight b8.
Beautiful.
That's not going to work.
Is that the only way to go about it, though? I mean, there's got to be other good moves, right, in this position after. I mean, like, is there anything wrong with a really blunt-looking rook b1 just planning to take on b7 next move?
No, rook b1 also
is it
has
maybe
some,
knight e2 check? But I don't even think that does
Oh,
anything.
yes, I take your bishop.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
So
would
I
be a
can't do
huge
that.
relief
Yeah.
for black if he could get rid of this bishop. But okay,
I was thinking I could take bishop b7 in between, but no, it's too complicated anyway. I want to do something smooth, right?
Right. So knight a5, not the highly desirable move that you want to play. But again, which exactly is the killer?
Bishop f5.
Bishop f5. There's no
Bishop
move.
f5. Just nothing to do.
No, because rook d1, we have two pins that we're working on. So
This
how are you
just
going to
sets
stop
up
both
this.
of them?
Yes. Ooh.
That's the end. That's the end. The only way to defend is knight c6
Brutal.
and knight somewhere, that same knight to defend. But it's clear rook d1. And wherever you put your knight, it's going to get hunted by the bishop.
Right. Oh. So knight b8, bishop h2, with a very simple threat of bishop takes b8, and there's just no moves.
Well, you can move the king.
Bishop takes b8, and the knight on d7 is pinned.
No, I want to move the king out of the pin. So let's just continue the line.
That I take.
In this position. Oh, you mean the second pin? Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Ooh.
Yeah,
ooh.
no,
Ooh.
your
So
pin
there-
didn't win. This thing about the bishops is very important.
Please, Maurice.
A very important point. You know, we always talk about this trade, bishop takes knight, and a lot of people. We discussed this on the last show. If you didn't see the Match of the Millennials, I will discuss it again here. There's a question I often pose students. I even pose even more advanced players. Why is the bishop 3 points and a knight 3 points? Because that's the rule of thumb we often go by, 3 and 3. And of course, a bishop and a knight being such diverse pieces, it kind of doesn't make sense that they're exactly each 3 points. And there's been some studies done mathematically, averaging out that the bishop might actually be more like 3.14 or 3.25 or some number that shows up. But in general, we think of these two pieces as about the same, that you can make an equal trade. But they're clearly not equal pieces, and the bishop is much faster, much faster than a knight, knight being a plodding piece. So why would a knight have any chance against a bishop? Well, the reason why the knight has that chance, of course, is because the knight can control all 64 squares, and a bishop cannot. So that brings back the advantage that the bishop has dramatically, because the knight can visit all these squares, bishop simply can't. But once you put the 2 bishops on the board versus 2 knights in particular, now all the squares can easily be visited, and so there are none of the minuses, while there are all of the minuses on the knight side, which is they can't strike from a distance. So if you take a look at a position like this one, look how bishop h2 dominates. It's because the bishops can strike from this distance. These bishops are trapping this rook from a distance. The bishop is doing all this yeoman's work while this rook is looking at it saying, oh my God, look at that thing. This bishop could be all the way back here on I0, and we can keep going back down as far as it wants. It will still slice into this diagonal. So it's the ability of the 2 bishops to work together to control all the squares from a distance. That speed comes back in, plus the color control, why this is no longer 3 and 3, 6 versus 3 and 3, 6. No way at all. Suddenly, the reduction of the advantage of the knights being able to visit all colors makes it more like 7 points, or 7 against 4, maybe, I would estimate, something more dramatic. And the fact that they always can trade from a distance as well. Bishops can trade with knights from up close and from a distance. The knight can only trade with a bishop from up close. So that's a big advantage when you can opt for when you make a trade. So this advantage is huge now, and I'm shocked that Wesley played f5 earlier, and now he's really feeling the brunt of opening up the game for the bishops. Maybe, Yasser, there was nothing much else to do, but when you open up the game intentionally, that's just red meat.
There you have it, knight d4 and an immediate bishop h2 from Maxime. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, again, f5, you know you're playing with fire, opening up the position to the benefit of your opponent. Again, Wesley must have seen something and holding passive, just holding the position that he really, really didn't like. That prompted that move f5, but he's being punished for it now. This move bishop h2 is a dominant move, and we're about to see 3 decisive games out of 5, 60% decisive games. I always fear when we have a roster so strong like we have that we're going to see too many draws.
And he just resigned after bishop h2.
No
Such
moves.
a powerful move. I mean, you know, I gotta love that quiet bishop move because it's really quite pretty, and you can see how somebody can miss it because the bishop is like so cool on g1. It's hitting c5, it's x rank to b6, it's hitting d4, and then all of a sudden it's on h2. Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
You see this bishop, you're thinking, okay, he's going to trade, and I snabbled a b3 pawn, but when does he realize that bishop takes b7 is virtually unstoppable, you're just going to be an exchange down, and you got no chances. Wesley, you may say it was a premature resignation, but I just didn't see any chances for him to resist.
Love this move. Now, which game were you most impressed by today? We had 3 victories for the white pieces by former Sinquefield Cup Round, also winning against the highest rated victory that he scalped today. Mm-hmm.
With the lighthearted Frenchman, Maxime Vachier Lagrave, who won a nice game today. Maxime, we saw you go into the confessional booth. You were one of the few players who did go in that confessional booth. You mentioned decent positioning. You were talking about similarities between your position and Peter Fiddler's, the other game, Karyakin's Fiddler. What were your thoughts coming out of the opening?
Well, it was not similar. It was exactly the same position. Sure, different move order, and well, I mean, at first I was, starting, for instance, with bishop b3 instead of d4 because sometimes black can take and play g5 and stuff like this. Starting with knight d2 instead of rook e1 to avoid some knight h5. I mean, I'm not sure how good that was, but anyway, I was aiming for this position, and yeah, my preparation ended after c6, but I knew white has a slight but pleasant advantage, so. I pushed. I'm not sure I played in the best way because I have so many options that all keep pleasant positions. So I was trying to find the one giving the least counterplay. And yeah, I don't know if the endgame is possible to hold. Probably it is, but it's very difficult because I can just bring my king, aim for f4. Sometimes aim for some exchange sacrifice on c5, and Wesley decided not to suffer too much, play at f5, but
Were you surprised by F5?
not really. I mean, at first, actually, after f5, I was considering f3, keeping everything under control. But then I wasn't sure what's going on after f4 and g5. So then I noticed I have this f4, and the position looks very good, and I couldn't believe his idea taking on f4 and g5 could work, and it so happens that it probably doesn't.
It definitely looked like those bishops were just way too strong in the end. Good start. 3 players with white, winning with white. What's the deal? Can you tell us how we saw 4 of the games go e4 and e5 as a response. Is d4 not that promising nowadays, or it was just coincidence this round?
Well, Levon is a big advocate of d4, of course, and basically never plays d4, but this time he played knight f3, so probably d4 is just sort of refuted right now.
Okay, always being lighthearted with your comments. Let us think about the Grand Chess Tour as a whole. You did play both Paris and Leuven, and there's a lead right now that you have to catch up on with Magnus, and he has stated that he's very strongly wanting to win this event. What were your thoughts coming in? Is it just a must-win for you, and is that your attitude to go va banque?
Well, I mean, of course, I have to say that I never actually won an event of this caliber. So the closest I've been was in London 2015, where I shared first with both Magnus and Danish. So yeah, in a sense, it would be great to finally clinch this sort of win that has been missing so far. But I mean, it's too early. It's first game. Of course, it's a good start. I'll take it game by game, and I mean, I'll take my chances wherever I can find them.
All right, well, congratulations on your win, and we look forward to seeing you. It's funny you said that. I never thought of that. You never won one of these super events. Certainly most deserving. We look forward to seeing if you have that opportunity this tournament.
Thank you, Maurice.
Well, the mathematics certainly favor